Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought today we would have a look at a video, once again from MWT Tank Battles. Now this is a game which is being developed by Artstorm, who are in a strategic partnership with Gaijin to bring NWT to the PC platform. So when you see a game like this, basically you are seeing a lot of stuff which can be shared across the board in a strategic partnership to basically work together and make it palatable not just for the mobile audience, but also for the PC one. And with Gaijin expanding into a ton of different markets, whether it is, of course, War Thunder Mobile, or War Thunder itself, or just getting involved in other projects, it's interesting to look at these things because we can see some new models and maybe ideas that are being worked on across the board. When it comes to a lot of these companies, they do interact, they do share information. Gaijin actually made a video, I think it was last year, kind of talking about how their process works in terms of their development cycles. So for example, you have small teams of developers that all work on different projects, and then they kind of converse and discuss between them, and then add their ideas all to other projects that are around. That's why, for example, in Enlisted, you started getting terraforming into the game, and then it was added to War Thunder in the form of the explosions. That's why you have certain vehicles that are in War Thunder that are also in Enlisted, even though they are in different models. That's why you have mechanics which are shared across different games, and it's why it's interesting looking at other Gaijin products to see how they're going to affect War Thunder, because basically they do. And in this video, they do 10 facts about MWT. You can go watch it on their on their channel if you want to. I'll leave a link to it in the description. But the reason why we're having a look at it is because of obviously some of the models. Now, some of these models are not very high res because remember, this is a mobile game, but eventually it will be ported into PC. And you can see here you have the good old Abrams demonstrator with what looks like 2 IR missiles on the top of it, a 50 cal weapon system, and then of course the standard gun, which looks like a 105, but it's probably a 120. And yeah, the reason why we're having a look at this video is because there's so many interesting little intricacies and also stuff that we see in War Thunder already, such as the A10, but also other vehicles that will be kind of cool to look at. So it talks about how in this game there will be tons of different systems in terms of aircraft, tanks, and you can see them here. I don't think we have any of these in War Thunder, apart from maybe this. I think this might be an STRV-122, but it has, once again, that weapon system, so it could be a Leopard 2 PSO. And then we have this, which looks like a Panzer, but it's not the hull of a Panzer, so it looks like the turret of one, which is mounted on some kind of different vehicle, and then I have absolutely no idea what that is. So generally, if you want to kind of help out, it would be really nice if you could help me work out what these vehicles are, because I have absolutely no idea what this is. Then, of course, we have one which is very hard to mistake, the F-35, which has turned up, which is really cool to see in the game. And we also know that stuff like this is being worked on by Gaijin, and I'm sure, as we know, Gaijin works, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead when it comes to planning. They're very similar to a lot of companies where future planning is incredibly important in terms of your products. And with War Thunder kind of being the flagship of it, future planning is super big. And, planning when to release vehicles, what vehicles to be ready, what mechanics to work on. Some of these processes are processes which last for a long time in terms of the game, and seeing stuff like this could easily kind of look at stuff that's already been worked on by War Thunder, or stuff that you could see in the future. So I believe this is that Soviet SPH. It looks incredibly similar to the Panzerhaubitze, but the thing that makes it different is the fact that it is, of course, on the T-72 chassis, or at least a similar chassis. So this one is one of those which just looks really odd for me. The T-72 is one of those chassis which is kind of, you know, put around the place. It could even be like the Armata chassis or the T-90 chassis, but I'm pretty sure this is that standard Soviet SPH. But whenever I look at this vehicle, the thing that it always reminds me of is the Panzerhaubitze, but I know it's not. It's that weird Soviet one. The only way I can really tell between these things is like this little gun here. And also the chassis being slightly different. But then again, there are SPHs, like South Africa, I believe, made an SPH which had access to a similar Soviet chassis. So they have all of these different vehicles in this game which aren't in War Thunder, which is just kind of crazy to think about, that we have so many that can be added which are across the place, such as this vehicle right here. So this is the BTR-BM. This one actually was produced and developed, I think, in 2021. So it's like a really, really modern vehicle. You can see it right here. It has access to ATGMs on the side, has access to a 30mm, and also would be something that would add to the BTR family that we have in War Thunder. The BTR family and the BMD family are two areas where we don't actually have quite a lot of vehicles ready to go. There's only really the BTR-80, right? Whereas you do have more modern vehicles like this, which would have much more enhanced capabilities with the 30mm and also the ATGMs in tow. Kind of surprised we haven't seen more BTRs. Maybe we will at some point. But you can see it works very similarly to, you know, other mobile games where it has health bars and it has all of the general like UI that you've seen out of them. One thing to also look at is a lot of the maps. Some of them are similar to the ones in War Thunder, but also they do have quite a lot of cityscapes. Here you can see the KF, is it the 41 or the 51? The new Panther. Because Germany can't name things differently. And then also you have the big old boy, the one which I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to in War Thunder, but for probably different reasons. This is the Armata. It is the funny kind of turret, well, crew. How do I put this? This was supposed to be the new kind of age of tanks. It was always touted, propagandized as the vehicle that would kind of take over the landscape of tank warfare. And the interesting thing about the Armata is it has a larger caliber gun, but also the crew is sat here in a pod. So the turret itself does not have any crew in it. Instead, it is just obviously decent amounts of armor, but the auto-loading system and everything like that. So this was supposed to enhance crew survivability because it meant that if your units weren't in the turret, it would be easy to escape through the hatch at the bottom, and also mean that you could kind of just make sure that they stay alive. Because at the end of the day, the actual humans inside the vehicle are what you're trying to protect, so you can keep the weapon system going. The Armata is one of those which, unfortunately, has gone through a lot of different setups in terms of news articles about it, whether it was going to be the best thing since sliced bread or whether it was ever actually going to be fielded. And then also the production numbers. You can actually find many different articles about how many of these things are actually produced, but nobody really knows because the statistics aren't official. And also, I'm pretty sure it's not taking part right now in the good old invasion of Ukraine, which has shown a lot of Russian MBTs getting annihilated, but I don't think this vehicle has been one of them. The Armata series, not just the one which is built on the chassis, but, you know, the turret, I don't think has been seen yet. But basically, they're showing in MWT that there are kind of external armor on it and different areas that you can destroy, which is pretty cool because you don't normally see that in mobile games. And the cool thing about this video is it basically goes through like a bunch of stuff that they're adding to this game, which aren't in other games. So mobile games specifically, they're very similar to stuff that you see in War Thunder. Then you have all of the amphibious vehicles. You have a Sheridan, what looks like a TS-38, but the gun looks really weird. No idea what this thing is. And then also a Levad, or no, sorry, an LAV-25. So people have been asking for the LAV-25 for a while now, especially for America. This looks like some kind of BMD, or maybe BMP. My guess would be BMD with the hull the way that it is, but it has ATGMs on both sides, and also what looks like a 20mm or a 30mm cannon in the center. So it has the same setup as the BMP-2M, but it looks like it's on a BMD chassis, which is kind of weird. But yeah, the LAV-25 would be nice to see. We have had, obviously, some LAVs added to the game. The Levad, of course, but this is the more standard marine vehicle, which everybody knows from well, real life. The 2S25 definitely stands out as the weak spot out of this vehicle, though. Yeah, this is like a BMD with the BMP-2M turret. That's so weird. Does it have the grenade launcher as well? Yeah, it does. Yeah, so this is a BMD with the BMP-2M turret. Wild. So that would actually be really good in War Thunder, because the BMD chassis is super fast, going forward and also going backwards. Then also you do have airplanes and helicopters in the game, which is kind of interesting. I have no idea what this helicopter is. I'm sure somebody could help me out, but my god, does it look ugly? Did we really go back to the box shape? Is that really something? Don't care about curves, don't care about stealth. This looks horrific, but it seems to have some kind of air-to-air missiles, and also some rockets, and a optic. The good old Harrier always looks lovely in the air. But yeah, it actually gives you a demonstration of how all of these things work. And also it seems like there's some kind of repair mechanic for aircraft. And I don't know whether this is in other games, because I don't really play games with a lot of HP bars, these types of games. But yeah, the fact that this is regenerating, it seems kind of interesting. So you just have to make sure that you stay alive for the longest time. Now this is the interesting one, because this could give us a big look into what War Thunder looks like in the future, and I'm not hugely happy with it. You can see here there's some kind of American launcher, one of the MLRSs. It's got a 50 cal on it, but the drone is the thing that we're looking at most. And the reason why we're looking at it is for one reason. It has an optic on it, and as you can see, it has an interesting mechanic. Now, we saw this in the other trailer that these guys were doing. So what it does is it paints an area of the ground with the drone, and then the artillery strike comes in from the vehicle itself. So that is terrifying. That, as a mechanic in War Thunder, would be absolutely terrifying. I could just not deal with this. It would be awful. And you can see how they've tried to balance it, because they can't make it as precise as they want to. So it's literally just bombard this area with a bunch of hits. So that is incredibly worrying to me. And hopefully that doesn't make it into the game. Now, the next part is also kind of worrying. So imagine a drone, a scout drone, but it has on top of it an ATGM. This is what this thing is here, where it just hovers around, uses ATGMs, hits people in the face, and then just bonks them. How ridiculous is that? I'm hoping that this doesn't make it into War Thunder, but I've got a feeling it might, in terms of what you could see in the game. But that would just be terrifying. It would be absolutely terrifying. Then we have the Abrams again, the good old EX. I'm not sure what this is. It kind of looks like a Challenger to me. Or maybe a Leopard. Not entirely sure. But look at this thing. Have you ever seen anything as terrifying as this? Imagine you're just wandering around and you just see a drone above you and it has a full ATGM launcher system on it. There's no way that this would work in real life, just because of stability, but also just because of weight. But I suppose as kind of engines get more efficient, stuff like this would eventually become real. Maybe it already has, who knows? But this just terrifies me. It's just so ridiculous that this can exist in this game. Now, there does seem to be some kind of auto-targeting of drones, so you can just shoot them down with machine guns, so it probably won't be too bad. But in standard War Thunder, you don't have that. So that's something to kind of watch out about. They do also have customizable loadouts, which is pretty fun. But that's obviously something we already see in War Thunder. The major weird thing is the is the drones. The drones to me are very much worrying. And then also look at this little vehicle. So this looks like a M113 with rocket pods on it, I think. So some kind of standard missile. Like what is this thing? And what are these missiles? They look like brimstones, but there's no way they're brimstones. But yeah, so what you can do with a vehicle like this, as you can see, is you can use it to hit people behind cover, which is what, you know, people do anyway. It's the M113 HELLFIRE. So these are guided HELLFIREs? I suppose that makes sense, because you just lock onto them with helicopters, but I didn't realize they made a ground version. Do they act like the ones in real life, like on helicopters, where they go above the target and then down? Like, can you lock targets on the ground? Can you fire and forget them? I suppose not, since they're lasered. God, that's weird. Hey, M113 with a bunch of Hellfires on it. How odd. And then we have this. Do you recognize this, baby? Oh, that's right. It's that funny Polish stealth vehicle. This game is really going for just crazy, you know, modern stuff. You can see here, this is that weird vehicle we saw last time, which I have absolutely no idea what it is. But somebody did put in the comment section what it was, but I've just completely forgotten about it. This is is it the PLO-1? I believe it is. It's just that weird Polish stealth vehicle. And then also, you have not just one vehicle, which has access to a dual-mounted, what looks like a 57. You then have this, which is a dual-mounted 125 on the Armata chassis, maybe? But don't worry, it's got a log, so Soviet approved. What are these things? They're just so odd. Like, this game really is just adding all of the craziness. Look at it! Oh, and then the ZTZ just here. Yeah, look at this thing. How crazy is that? Like, oh my god. I wonder if in War Thunder we'll ever get, like, big old double-barreled MBTs. I remember that was something they did in World of Tanks. But in War Thunder, like, there are some options which are realistic for it. You know, obviously we have stuff like the ZSU 57-2, but other AAs which were designed around it. But stuff like the KV-7, for example, which had, I think it was 176 and 237s, or the other way around. Where it was a development of the KV chassis. There was also a variant which had two 76mm, but it was basically a superstructure where they built into it, very similar to like an SU series, but yeah, KV. If you're interested, by the way, the KV series has a ton of interesting prototypes. We only have basically about half of them in the game. There are a bunch of other ones which are kind of cool. And also the SU. So, you know how we have the SU-57B and the 76D? There are other variants of those kind of prototypes which were trialed to try and get more out of that chassis. And it's actually really cool to look at. So this thing is just mad. I don't know how else to put it. It looks completely crazy and ridiculous. And also, they do have decals in the game. So that's basically what this is showing. How you can put decals on stuff. But then also, there's the Terminator, there's the KF, there's that HELLFIRE M113, and there's that double-barreled monstrosity, whatever that is. So they just have so much random stuff in this game, including all of the aircraft. That's the 292, I'm pretty sure, wasn't it? Just like making an entrance right at the end. No, that's the Armata. Then the PLO-1, KF51, and then some weird Russian space stealth craft, which looks crazy with its stuff. And then, of course, Taylor Swift at the end. It's Swifty time as we go through. So, that's the video. There's so much random stuff in this, including the M113 with the Hellfires, the double-barreled MBTs, and just ridiculous vehicles that shows not just that this game has a lot of potential, but also in the future, so does War Thunder in many, many ways. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know if you spotted anything weird and wonderful in it. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.